If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we ain't quitting. Yoshi and Dr. Winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma's karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 divine winters, Clyde winters, mind bender, Clyde winters, I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde winters, give respect to the elder, Clyde winters, I telling somebody out there living for me. I told you somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
We have to live by the law. We have to live by the law. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not drank. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I am not wrong. I am not struck here. I am not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about Uncle Tom. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed against.
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winter.
What up, though? Hey, how you doing, JP, Joan, Brave Cold Water, Natty, off the mind? What up, though? Listen. This is a beautiful day. It's sun shining here in Chicago, and that I went outside, I stood up in the sun, and I said, all praises to the sun, baby. But I was talking to really meaning all praise to God through the sun to give me that melano-synthesis. Melano-synthesis. It's that melano-synthesis. It's that melano-synthesis that led JP to writing these books and led her to say, we got to make this world better. You know, it was that melano-synthesis that made Nadi, Arthur, and Brave Cold Water Joan understand in the sense that you had to fight to make things come true. Yes. Yes, because see, this is very important to understand. We went through a melano-genesis in America. In this melano-genesis, we have, we are descendants of the Aboriginal blacks, the Black European, the Sub-Saharan African. We all became FBA, Foundational Black Americans, B1. We're the modern supermen and modern superwomen of the world. Why? Because the fact in the sense is that we have all that intelligence from three different groups. And it was through this melanogenesis that we're able to be who we are today. And I think a video that really shows this melanogenesis has to be the video that was done by Yoshimad. Check out this video because it is a video that explains how we went through this transformative period, how we became, in a sense, foundational Black Americans, the B1, Black first, B1, brilliant first, yes, through a melanosynthesis, Aboriginal Black, Black European, Sub-Saharan African, we all got mixed up, baby, and we became who we are.
I'm like the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. The ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm like the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm like the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. What's it that you don't want me to say? I've been big, no one listen to me. Sometimes I feel like the living I made. On my grandmother was in the maid. Left me behind and left me astray. What is the truth that was going on with me? Don't make me cool and just have a nice day. Some things are just easy to say. Wish I could stop me from breathing a day. Don't have no food and they swimming on me. Out in the ocean away from the bay. I've been drifting along far away. I went up in to keep them away. See what you see, but I just cannot stay. Force me to land and they want me to drink. Can't do the crown, they don't suit me. Wine unfortunately, and my sorrow. So many follow, sleeping in hollow. Bring on the idol, listen to Carlo. Nothing to borrow, living to borrow. Nothing to call home, shooting a hollow. Shooting a porno, about the carnal. Some men know you. Look out in the eye, all known. Seeing that is a pyramid. Hey, they say me get that is affirmative. I look at me, bitch. Got the hook to the ring. She let the color quiz. That's what the mission is. We are that guinea pig. Music, I'm feeling it. Tired of the ceiling it. Not like I'm feeling it. Killing what killing it. Feeling like feeling it. Swimming this message off of the shore into the abyss. Deep in, I'm in ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. I'm super genie, what a feenie. Take you to Feenie, how would they see me? Sleazy bikinis, nothing but weenies. Wearing a beanie, feeling bikini. Changing the scenery, Strumming your misery, so many lies on me. Probably got you on TV, believe me. Pulling your memories, killing the name. They never just admit that they got me. Machiavelli could have never been sloppy. We can see it's nothing but copies. Listen, cooked up in that lobby. Billie Holiday just was a body. George Clinton committed them robberies. It seems he went for the lottery. This all falls in one category. We all call it a mystery. I'm the villain you all see. They glory to those who all see. Pendergrass set up like Eddie Murphy. No car crash, they just hating on me. Gotta make a comeback like Bill Cosby. Kobe Bryant playing conspiracy. Get me back for taking a knee. But they just be kidding me. Like in my turban, hit when I'm swerving. Black house cursing, sipping up a curved in. More laceration, installation, no motivation. Straight elimination, your innovation, alienation, annihilation. All for the taking, taking like taking. Open faking, us first nation. Who you saving? Change like Raven. Say me David, had to shake them. Who's a brave one? Now you're craving. Even Jaden save him. Taylor paving. Who we faking? Harry make them misbehaving. We the brave before we drown in the water. Got a deep dive. I'm in the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. Think they don't want me to stay. There's always one who just got rain. He came from the cave, came from the maze, created the slave. Step out of water, protection is harder. Why do they bother? Over my head, first like a daughter. Same boat, same pay, only in slaughter. Still throw jet bro, same as a father. Justify life, why should it be harder? On my nation, make things water. See how they come, all as one. Force me to gun, force me to the slum. Live up the crumb, father's hung. Faces beyond, live as one. Betraying the nuns, speak for the young. Nobody's dumb, maybe just someone they young. Maverick approach, truth by Yojo. And the kind will grow, just as the Oko came off the old phone. E-I-E-I-O-E-O song. Turning the wheel until it's all gone. Gotta go deeper, dive with the people. Some turn lethal, neighbors is evil. Vote for the right, give up the pain. No human right, kill them on sight. Many to spare, many beware. I see that I'm there, I see that I'm here. Ready with flags, calling all bad. All genders are here. We the illusion, not disappear. As hard as my chin, deep dive. I'm an illusion and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die again.
That video was by Yoshimod the genius. Yoshimod, in a sense, in that one video, what he's been able to do is that he's been able to show our ethnogenesis, how we became foundational Black Americans. Do you understand? Do you understand? A lot of people, in a sense, they say, Dr. Winters, will you stop talking that ish? Please leave me alone. I'm not Black. I'm not Black. Black is a color. Black. Get away that word from me, Black. But we are. We're foundational Black Americans. There's nothing wrong with going through that process. So what? So what? Stop being ashamed. Stop hating yourself. You know, I've been seeing some of the Aboriginal brothers and sisters. They say, yes, we're Black, but we're not them Black. Wait a minute. They say we're Black. We're Aboriginals. We're indigenous to the land, but we're not them Blacks. We're not them African Americans. You know what? You sound very stupid. You sound very stupid, you know. You sound very stupid. You know, they say we was always here. Yes, we were always here. Since we was always here, we were here. But you forget, family. These people, they forget. They're so ignorant. They forget. There was an ice age in America. Because there was an ice age in America, whoever were the original people who settled in America, their remains are gone. Their remains was under the ice for 125,000 years. The ice age ended around 10,000 BC. But there was already people here. And these people, they belong to what was called the Solutrean culture. They used Solutrean tools. These Solutrean tools, they originated in Africa. Since the Solutrean tools originated in Africa, the oldest place they found these tools were Africa. Then later, in a sense, these Africans went down the various mega lakes and rivers, and they went into Europe, and they took them into Europe around 44,000 BC. Then they brought them over here around 20-something thousand BC. Yes, stop. You couldn't just appear someplace, but you hear these ignorant people, I'm Aboriginal, I'm indigenous, I've always been here. Okay, you've always been here. Where did you come from? I've always been here. Where did you come from? See, where did you come from? You know, just like this person, Maud Moore says, Black people been in Asian confederacies for a way long time. Us Asians call them Shang, Maluha. Shang, do you know that the Shang, in a sense, they came in a sense, they were in a sense Mandingo-speaking people. Yes, Mandingo-speaking people. The Shang, in a sense, they used the Mandingo culture. That's why if you notice, the Shang, you know what the original people who built the Shang civilization were? They were the Shia. What does Shia mean? Black. And see, the Shia were the same people who built the Olmec civilization. They were Mandingo speakers. Mod over the mind. Yes, mod over the mind. Yes, bring some goodness into your heart, but at the same time, learn your history. Learn your history. That's one of the reasons why I had to write 50 damn books. And I keep writing books. It's not that I want to keep writing these books. I had to keep writing these books because there's so much of our history that we've been lied to. We've been lied to. Yes, Nadi says she. Yes, she. She was the name of the people who founded the first civilization in China. She was also the name of the Olmec people. They called themselves the she because, in a sense, she means the black. It means the nation. She. See? But again, in your history, you will follow lies. And see, people love a lie. So I heard this sister, and she was saying, yes, I'm Aboriginal, but I'm not them blacks. You see, they don't understand. See, what people don't understand is that how you doing, Black Scraps, the gamer? You know, people don't understand in the sense that, see, the white man, he plays both sides. You know, anything that can keep us disunified, you see. That's one of the reasons why I like to say that we're B1. Yes, I say foundational Black Americans. And I say foundational Black Americans because that's a way of bringing all the various Black nationalities into one simple group, you know. That way we're no longer just a Black Catholic or a Black Protestant. We're no longer a Hebrew. We're no longer more. What we are, we're one Black people. That's why I use foundational Black Americans. But even more so than that, from a Pan-African perspective, we're B1, we're Black first. But we're not only Black first, we're Black and we're brilliant. Why are we Black and we're brilliant? We're Black and we're brilliant because the fact, in a sense, is that we have, in a sense, learned. We have learned that is through, in a sense, understanding who you are and what you are that allows you to be able to grow, you see, you know. And Joan is correct, you know. Joan is correct. AIDS is an epidemic. It's a pandemic. AIDS is culturally acquired immune identity deficiency syndrome. Yes, yes. What AIDS does is that a Black person, in a sense, they lose their immunity to whiteness. Joan, she was the one who gave me identity to the whole AIDS ailment. Is because the fact is that you not only lose your immunity to whiteness, you see. She pointed out to me that when you lose your immunity to whiteness, you lose your identity. And you begin, in a sense, to believe that you're just as good as white people, or maybe you are that white man, and that you should look down on every other Black person because they're beneath you, because somehow you're superior to them. But see, the minute that you catch AIDS, the minute that you say that you're just as good as a white person, you're dead. You're dead inside, and you're dead in their mind, and you fully, in a sense, suffering from AIDS. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the fact is this. You live in a system of white supremacy. In this system of white supremacy, they've created a race. They've created a race in which they're going to win. Yes, yes, yes. They've created a race in which they're going to win because they've made, in a sense, they've given their racial heritage a monetary perspective. You see, whiteness gives them, in a sense, priority over any other ethnic group on the planet Earth. And because of white supremacy, they've created a race in which they're going to win. They've created a race, in a sense, in where the Black person, in a sense, may go only so far. But they've created a race because the fact is that they don't feel they can compete with you. Because they can't compete with you, then therefore that's why they have white supremacy. So when a Black person begins to think that he's just as good as a white person, that Black person is lost. Because white people don't think you're as good as they are. They think you're better than them. That's why they created a system of white supremacy, to make sure that they can stay on top and you stay on the bottom. Yes, you stay on the bottom. And the reason that you have to stay on the bottom is because the fact, in a sense, is that they're afraid. They're afraid if they open up anything to you, they're going to lose. They opened up athletics to us. Then the best basketball, football, soccer, tennis, golf players, if they're black, they usually, after a while, they usually take over the fields. So naturally, they're not going to let you really take over the academic field. I mean, damn, what would they have? That's why they steal so much of our history. That's one of the reasons why I had to come to you every Thursday. And I have to come to you every Thursday to try to, in a sense, open up to you the truth in our history. Allow you to see who and what we are. Because, see, remember, some people say, why do you spend your time with ancient history? Why do you spend your time? Because ancient history situates you. It tells you who you are and what you are and what you can become. See? What you can become. Europeans have only dominated the world since 1889. In 1889, they had the conference in which they split up Africa into new countries, and they began to colonize Africa. They began to colonize Asia. But they haven't ruled the world that long. I mean, by the 1950s. And, you know, these people were fighting for their freedoms. In India, they were trying to get free in the 40s, see? So the European is not a dominant person. White supremacy is not supreme, you see? And today we're going to talk about one of the greatest civilizations that Black people founded. And this Black civilization was the civilization of Sumer, see? And so what we're going to do is that we're going to look into this, and you're going to understand why Europeans are so afraid of you. And Europeans are afraid of you because they can't compete with you. They can't compete with you because the fact is this is a civilization is a civilization that's always been dominated by us. Yes, by us. But let's get into this week's talk. Sumer, the first Black civilization. Let's look at this. On the one hand, we see a Sphinx, and we see, in a sense, you know, a Sumerian. We see the face, the natural Black features, so there's no question. Then in the middle, we see Ma. Ma was a great civilizer. Ma was a fish god. Ma was, in a sense, those first engineers that built the civilization. And then in the last picture, the farthest picture to the right, we see the gods leading the Black individual up to God, up to the gods, up to the heavens, up to knowledge and understanding. And that's what we're doing here, you see. Every Thursday you come and I try to share with you these Black history gems. And these Black history gems are to allow you to understand our great history and who and what we are. And stop losing your identity. Stop becoming a person who is ill from CAIDS, culturally acquired immune identity deficiency syndrome. Know your history, know who you are, and then you'll know that, yes, you do have a future. You can go to Patreon to see the slides. Please join my Patreon. I'm able to do this research because the people on my Patreon, they provide me with the support. Yes. I know you'd like to believe that everything can be done without money, but I'm sorry to tell you this. It's that it takes money to do research. It takes money to buy books. It takes money to get articles that are behind a paywall, you see? And my Patreon, you guys, you gals and guys, you guys, in a sense, you help me to be able to do these presentations every Thursday because I try to make sure that I bring you the latest research, the latest information so you can be on top of this. So join my Patreon, support me, help me to be able to do this research, help me to be able to continue doing this research by providing me the economic stability to be able to do this. It takes money. In this man's world, nothing is free. Nothing is free. And to be able to do these presentations, I have to buy new books sometimes, and these books can be into the hundreds of dollars, you know. Sometimes they can even want $1,000 for certain books that are really old, but sometimes when I see those books, if I keep looking hard enough, sometimes I can find a PDF. But it's very hard. But some of the older books or the out of print books, a lot of those books can cost as much as $1,000 to $2,000 to buy them. So again, I thank you, my Patreon members. In fact, this video was suggested by one of my Patreon members. And join my Patreon, support me. Cash App is fine, but see, Cash App, that's a one-time thing. If you join in a sense my Patreon, it's only $5. If you join my Patreon, that's your $5 with other people who join my Patreon, $5. And that provides me with the monies to be able to get these new books, get behind these paywalls, and get the research that can help make these presentations every Thursday. Please support me. Please join my Patreon. Also, you're on my YouTube video page. I don't just do lives. I have shorts here, and I have over 340 videos on every aspect of Black history on every continent on the planet. Don't just listen to my lives. Come back when you have the time and set a research agenda. Maybe you might want to look at all my videos on the history of Blacks in Asia, or the Blacks in the Americas, or the Blacks in Europe. But you can do this, and you can become much more fluent in the histories of our people around the world by looking at my videos. Please support my other videos, not just my lives. But what you can do now is that you can subscribe and push that like button. Yes, I know you're going to like the video. So you can just press the like button now and press the subscribe button, because some of you guys may not be able to get my notices, because the fact is this, sometimes they unsubscribe you. So, press that subscription button and join. You can order my books at Amazon.com. Let the researcher do the researcher. Be one, Black first. You can get my book, Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentrism, a memoir. In this book, I talk about how I became an Afrocentric researcher. Yes. I talk about the people I met along the way, Asa Hilliard, some of the other guys, Ivan Van Serta, Mahan Adams. So this is a book that tells you, it's a primer on how to become a researcher, because it tells you how I became a researcher. If you're really interested in understanding who I am, if you're interested in understanding why I do the research I do, if you're interested in understanding how I became the researcher I became, get my book, Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentrism, a memoir. For those of you who want to be a researcher, yes, let the researcher do the research. But you too can be an Afrocentric researcher. Yes. As long as you've had sixth grade English. What did I say? Did I say college rhetoric? Did I say college English grammar? No, I said as long as you have a sixth grade, if you can remember your sixth grade English, if you can remember how to create a sentence and put a noun, a verb, sometimes adjectives, pronouns, etc., you can be a researcher. You can write research papers. Somebody told me, go and take a good research class at a university. Most universities don't really have research classes. That's why a lot of people, in a sense, when they try to get their PhD, when it's time to get their PhD, they can't even write up their dissertations, because they don't have, in a sense, a good research class that can show them how to do research, how to do quantitative, how to do qualitative research. But my book, The Afrocentric Researcher, A Guide to Study Social Science Research Methods, in this book, I outline the method that I use to teach my research class. It can help you to become a researcher. It can help you to do research from an Afrocentric perspective. And also it can tell you how to interpret genetic research, historical research, anthropological research, linguistic research. This Afrocentric researcher can help make you what's called a plural-disciplinarian. Plural-disciplinarian means that you're going to understand all the disciplines related to understanding mankind and understanding the world. Anthropology, history, linguistics, genetics. Get my book, Afrocentric Researcher, Guide to Study Social Science Research Methods, by me, Clyde Winters. If you want to learn more about Kushite history and the Sumerians were Kushites, get my book, The Kushites, Who, What, When, Where. In this book, I talk about the history of the Kushites. I'm still trying to determine out what the word Kush really means. But again, in a sense, in this book, it can tell you about the Kushites, who, what, when, where, the Kushites everywhere. Nile Valley history in the Rigveda. In this book, I talk about the fact that many of the people in India, the Tamil people and the Dalits, many of these people, in a sense, originally lived in the Nile Valley. Yes, the Nile Valley. And in the Nile Valley history in the Rigveda, what I do, in a sense, is I discuss I discuss, in a sense, the literature and how it's not about ancient India, it's about the Nile Valley. And you can get my book using Common Core State Standards to teach Kushite history. This book gives you an outline on Kushite history, and it can also help you, in a sense, to learn about Kushite history and to find a way to really go into detail and study and understand what the Kushite history is all about. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry or pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the African and Aboriginal blacks who built the United States. Yes, yes, yes. The Aboriginal blacks, the Black Irish, the Black Catholics who Oliver Cromwell sent into chattel slavery between 1650 and 1659. The sub-Saharan Africans that were made slaves in 1660, chattel slaves. These chattel slaves, Black Aboriginal, Black European, Black African, they mixed on the plantations through an ethnogenesis. They became the foundational Black Americans. Yes, yes, they became you. They became me. They became us. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry and mod, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African Black ancestry. B1. Black equal brilliant. Yes, Black equals brilliant. Look it up. Look it up. Look up the meaning of Black in Latin. Look up the meaning of Black in Old English. Black means brilliant, shiny. What? If Black equals brilliant, that when you're B1, you're Black first. But when you're B1, you're not just Black first. When you're B1, you're brilliant first. Yes, you're Black and you're brilliant. You must, in a sense, understand that that is your destiny. That's who you are. They're not like us. They're not like us. They're not like us. We're always proud to be members of the brilliant Black race. So they're not like us. They're not like us. No, they're not like us. Because the fact is this, they're not like us because they don't understand, in a sense, the fact that we're a people who love ourselves. They're not like us. They're not like us. We're always proud to be members of the brilliant Black race. Yes, yes. We're proud to be Black and brilliant. The Sumerians, they call their nation Ki-Engi. The name Sumerians, they usually say came from Assyrians, but I found an article this week, and this article, it claims that the Akkadians also called them the Sumerians, but again, the Sumerians, they called their own land Ki-Engi. The Sumer civilization, one of the earliest known in human history, emerged in the southern part of Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, around 4500 BCE. Often referred to as the cradle of civilization, Sumer is credited with numerous pioneering achievements in various fields, including writing, architecture, and governance. The Sumerian innovations laid the foundation for subsequent civilizations in the region and profoundly influenced the course of human history. Although, in a sense, they teach you that the Sumerian civilization originated before Kemet, that's not true. But because both Sumer and Kemet, they weren't really founded by Nilotic people like us, the taller Black people. They were founded by the Anu. And the Anu people are the people we call today the Twa people. Yes, yes. Those people those small people who are running around Central Africa, hunter-gatherers with a bow and arrow, who today, in a sense, you see and you believe are primitive people. These were the people who built the Sumerian civilization. These were the people who built the Kemetic civilization. Yes, yes, yes. Just because people are in a certain state today doesn't mean that they've always been that way. The Sumerians settled in the fertile plains between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, a region known as Mesopotamia, which translates to land between rivers in Greek. This area with its rich alluvial soil was ideal for agriculture, enabling the Sumerians to develop sophisticated farming techniques. The abundance of water and fertile land allowed for surplus crop production, which supported population growth and urbanization. Yes, yes, yes. But it's very important to understand, even though these black people understood, and that they had a prosperous area, they had a land in a sense that was fertile, they had a land that could produce in a sense various crops. They still recognized that it was not because of them. They recognized that it was God, it was our creator in a sense, that allowed them to be able to have this type of civilization, to have this type of environment, to be able in a sense to reproduce and to share and to love. So we never gave up that principle of God. The ancestors of Sumerians were members of the Ma-confederation. Yes, yes. The Sumerians, the Egyptians. Yes, both of these groups, they are descendants of the Ma-confederation. The Proto-Saharans claim descent from the Ma, a fish confederation. The Ma-confederation includes the Egyptians, Elamites, Dravidians, Manding, and Sumerians. In honor of the great fish ancestor Ma, they worshiped a god called Amun, Aman, or Amma. In honor of this great ancestor, the descendants of the Proto-Saharans used the term Ma to denote greatness or highness. In Manding, Maga, Dravidian Ma. The Proto-Saharans, in a sense, in honor of the great Ma, use the term Ma to denote, in a sense, the greatness. Yes, yes. The Ma element was also used in the names for their rulers. For example, Menes of Egypt, the Manan of the Dravidians, and the Mansa of the Manding. Yes, yes. Ma, Mansa, Manan, Menes. You see, in a sense, this. The Mao of the Dravidians is just another form of Ma. Mao is the fish. He was a prototype of the fish god among the Pandian Tamils. Amma, Uma, Aman, Aman, and etc. We often, in a sense, we think of Sema, of Ammon, we think about, in a sense, the various gods that are associated with this. In the Sahara, there's a called Yardangs. And these Yardangs in the Sahara, in the Saharan desert, as you can see in this picture on the right-hand side, they look almost like the representation of the god Ammon by the Egyptians and the Kushites. I sometimes wonder. A lot of people think that these Yardangs were Yardangs that look like the god Ammon, that they're really, in a sense, they were formed by the wind and the dust, and chipping away at various bodies of rocks. But I don't think so. I think that these so-called Yardangs, I think that these were, in a sense, structures built by the Proto-Saharans, the Ma people. And I really believe, and I may never do this, but I really believe that one day, if someone, in a sense, excavates under these structures, they're going to find, in a sense, some artifacts to relate back to that culture. I do not think that they're just natural features of the Sahara. You see, I call these people, in a sense, the Proto-Saharans. And these tribes, they claim descent from the great Ma, founder of the Fish Confederation. For example, the Manding called themselves Ma-Indi, children of Ma, while the Sumerians called themselves Magari, exalted God's children. So again, we see that this fish god plays an important role in terms of the Mandi civilization, and also, in a sense, the Tamil civilization over in India. And this is very important to understand, and even in among the Sumerians, because they call themselves Magari. The coming god was called Ma, the man-fish of Eridu in Mesopotamia and Syria, and ithophallic forms, the prototype of Aman in Egypt, and the goddess Meenakshi of Madura in South India, the goddess of the fish eyes, the Malabar fish bearer of Mana, and the sacred fishes of the Mapili of the west coast of the Deccan. In the language of the Manding, Ma is used to refer to the ancient inhabitants of the ancient continent and the invisible spirit who inhabits the watercourses in Egypt. Mat meant divine truth and justice. I know that today, since we're trying to separate ourselves as FBA, as unique people. But see, it's very important to understand that the people who live in South India today, the Telugus, the Tamil, the Mayam, the people in the sense who speak the so-called Dravidian languages, these people did not always live in South India. They didn't always live in South India. When you compare their languages to African languages, you see that there's almost a complete fit. You see between Tamil and various African languages, especially in a sense the Niger Congo group. So I always bring up India because the history of India also goes back to the Nile Valley. See, and so then some people say, "Well, Dr. Winters, stop it." You see, that's why I said we're B1, we're black first. We're black first because the fact is this is that you don't have just black people here or black people in Africa. There's also black people who have an origin in the Nile Valley in India. See, so you got to bring them all together. You see, the Maul of the Dravidians is just another form of Ma. Maul is the fish. He was a prototype of the fish god among the Pandian Tamils. Excuse me. Amma, Uma, Ammon, etc. They all refer to Maul's consort. Yes. So the most ancient god of the South Indians was Maul. And so again, we see and Uma. Yes, you didn't know that Amma was worshipped in India, South India, did you? But it was. And all this goes back to the fish god because they called them fishes because of the fact that the earliest rulers of the Proto-Saharans, they were engineers, and they had to push back the sea because I've in other lectures I've talked about how Lake Mega Chad and Lake Mega Congo, they took up wide hundreds of thousands of miles of land in Africa. And so then these great fishies, as they were called, were engineers who were able, in a sense, to put land over the water, to fill in the creeks, to fill in a sense, the ponds, to fill in the lakes, so that people, in a sense, would have fertile places to grow crops, to raise families, and to be able to live instead of, in a sense, all of the water. And that's why they talk about the fishies. They talk about the great Ma, because he was able, in a sense, to unite the people, but he was also a great engineer who was able to build cities and towns where people could live. The Proto-Saharans spoke similar languages. They found the civilizations in Sumer, Elam, the Indus Valley, Libyco-Berber, and Minoan civilizations. Here you can see a map of Mesopotamia and Egypt, and you can see Sumer, Kish, Akkad, Nippur over there on the and you can see Elam on the far right of the map, and then we can see Kemet in the Nile Valley. The Proto-Saharans lived in an environment dotted with lakes and rivers. This is how these were some of the ancient African water courses. And as you can see, it was so many lakes and water courses throughout Africa that the major form of transportation back in the day was usually a canoe or a boat. As a result of numerous lakes, streams, and rivers in Middle Africa, the Proto-Saharans had a highly developed boat technology. And we know this because they left many rock engravings that show, in a sense, the various watercraft that these people in the Proto-Sahara or when the Sahara was green, used to move from place to place. The Proto-Saharans took their red and black pottery, boat technology, and writing to other parts of the world. The modern representatives of the Proto-Saharans include the Dravidians, the Dogon, and Mandi-speaking peoples of India and West Africa, respectively. Also, Africans speak Tamil, a Dravidian language. Yes. Do you know, in a sense, the Dogon Dravidians share many of the same culture features? They both worship Amma. And also, did you know in Cameroon? Yes, in Cameroon, they found people in Cameroon that still speak Tamil. It's unbelievable. Yes, there's people in Cameroon that speak the Tamil language, which is also spoken in South India. In fact, Tamil used to be a lingua franca. In fact, Much of the literature of the various Dravidian-speaking people was usually written in Tamil because Tamil was considered a lingua franca. It was considered, in a sense, a language that united all the Dravidians, you see, in culture and literacy. There's textual evidence supporting the relationship between the founders of Sumer, Elam, and Delmun. Delmun is the name that the Sumerians called the ancient civilization in the Arapan Valley that we call the Indus Valley civilization. Colonel Henry Rawlinson used textual evidence to determine that a link existed between the Mesopotamians and their ancestors in Africa. Rawlinson called these people Kushites. There's a positive relationship between crania from Africa and Eurasia. The archaeologist Marcel Auguste Dieulafoy and Leo Hanbury maintained that there was a sub-Saharan strain in Persia. These researchers maintained that it was evident that an Ethiopian dynasty ruled Elam from a perusal of its statuary of the royal family and members of the army. Henry Rawlinson used the book of Genesis to find the identity of the Mesopotamia. He made it clear that the original inhabitants of Babylonia were represented by God and were represented by the family of Ham, the Kushites, Egyptians, and etc. This name came from the popularity among these peoples of Hanin the leopard, Nimri. And as noted in earlier posts, the Egyptians and Nubian rulers always associated leopard spots with royalty, just as Siva is associated with the feline. As a result, Rawlinson used an African language, Gala, to decipher the cuneiform writing, and also a South Semitic language, South Indian, a South Arabian language. The Sumerians and Elamites came from Africa, like the founders of the Indus Valley civilization. Therefore, the Elamite and Sumerian languages are closely related to African and Dravidian languages. Dieulafoy noted that the textual evidence and iconography make it clear that the Elamites were Africans and part of the Kushite Confederation. Dieulafoy made it clear that the Elamites at Susa were sub-Saharan Africans. Yes, at Susa in Mesopotamia, that they were sub-Saharan Africans. Marcel Dieulafoy and M. de Quatrefages observed that the craniometrics of the ancient Elamites of Susa indicate that they were sub-Saharan Africans or Negroes. Ancient sub-Saharan African skeletons have also been found in Mesopotamia. The craniometric data indicates that continuity existed between ancient and medieval sub-Saharan Africans in Mesopotamia and Africa. Interesting. The Sumerians and Elamites came from Africa. The Kushites, when they migrated from Middle Africa to Asia, continued to call themselves Kushites, Hawks. This is most evident in place names and the names of gods. The Kassites, chief rulers of the Iran, occupied the central part of the Zagros Mountains. The Kassite god was called Kashu, which was also the name of the people. The K-S-H name element appears throughout, in a sense, Central Asia and all the way into India. For example, Kishkinthali was the name applied to an ancient Dravidian kingdom in South India. Also, it should be remembered that the kings of Sumer were often referred to as the kings of Kush or Kish. The major Kushite tribe in Central Asia was called Kushana. The Kushan of China was styled the Yuek-Ti, or the Great Lunar Race, among the salt swamp. There was a state called Kushik of Tibet. The city of Kesan was situated in the direction of Kushan, which was located in the western part of the Gansu province of China. The Elamites later conquered Sumer. They call the line of kings in Sumer the kings of Kish, or the kings of Kush. We don't know. The vowel could have been I, it could have been you. The term has affinity to the term Kush that was given to the Kerma dynasty founded by the Sea group people of Kush. It is interesting to note that the Elamite language is closely related to the African languages, including Egyptian and the Dravidian languages of India. Yes. Many of these people walked over land, but many also, in a sense, they went in these great ships, and many of these ships always had oars, as you can see when I showed you those pictures from the some of the stone, the boats that they recovered in the ancient Sahara. If you notice, many of them had oars, just like these boats would have had oars that took these African people from Egypt, the Nile Valley, to India. S.N. Cram and the Sumerians claimed that Makan was Egypt, Meluha was Nubia, Punt, and the Indus Valley was called Delmun. Today, Delmun is believed to be found near Arabia, but the archaeological evidence suggests that the Indus Valley, which was settled by Dravidian speakers, was the source of the lapis lazuli, which made Delmun famous. Archaeological research has confirmed that cultural interaction existed between the contemporary civilizations of the 4th and 3rd millennium BC. Extensive trade routes connect the Proto-Dravidians of the Indus Valley with ancient peoples in Egypto-Nubia and the Elamites and Sumerians. Pico discovered that vessels from the IVBI workshop at Tepe-Yakya have a uniform shape and design. Vessels sharing this style are distributed from Selvian Uzbekistan to the Indus Valley and Sumerian, Elamite, and Egyptian sites. Did you hear that? There was a uniform shape of and design of the various vessels that people used to eat, to drink, to cook, and this style spread from not only in a sense Egyptian sites, but all the way to Soviet Uzbekistan, the Indus Valley, Sumer, and Elam, and also into a Hellenic Greece and Crete. Controversy surrounding the Kushite African black origin of the Sumerians. The controversy around the Kushite African black origin of the Elamite Sumerians, Akkadians, and Syrians is simple and yet complicated. It involves both the racism exhibited towards the African slaves in the Western Hemisphere and Africans generally, which led to the idea that Africans had no history, and the need of Julius Opart to make Semites white. Yes, to accommodate the white ancestry of European Jews. Very important to understand. Julius Opart, who was an expert on the Sumerians, was an Ashkenazi Jew. And so then therefore, in a sense, he wanted, the Jews to be seen as whites. And so naturally, he wanted to try to make the Sumerians, Semites or whites. So that in a sense, this could play into this whole idea of white supremacy. Giants in the field of Sumerian studies was Colonel Henry Rawlinson and Julius Opart. Colonel Henry Rawlinson, as I said earlier, he was of the opinion and he proved that the Sumerians and Elamites were Kushites, whereas Julius Opart, he wanted in a sense to make them to be Jews because he was a Jew. As a result, Rawlinson was surprised during his research to discover that the founders of the Mesopotamian civilization were of Kushite origin. He made it clear that the Semitic speakers of Akkad and the non-Semitic speakers of Sumer were both black or Negro people who called themselves Sagiga, the blackheads. In Rawlinson's day, the Sumerian people were recognized as the Akkadians or Chaldean, while Semitic-speaking blacks were called Assyrians. Julius Opart noted that the original founders of Mesopotamian civilization called themselves Ki and Gi, land of the true lords, or civilized land. So Ki and Gi means land of the true lords, or civilized lands. It was the Semitic speakers who called themselves Akkadians. So we had two different groups in Mesopotamia. The original founders of the civilization were the Sumerians. They were later, in a sense, conquered by the Akkadians, who were Semitic-speaking people. Assyrians called the Ki and Gi people Sumeritu, the sacred language. Opart popularized the Assyrian name Sumer for the original founders of the civilization. Thus, we have today the Akkadians and Sumerians of ancient Mesopotamia. I was reading this article and they tried to argue that the Akkadians was already using the name Sumerians for the people of Ki and Gi, and it didn't really convince me. The article didn't really convince me because we know in a sense that it was the Assyrians who first used the name Sumer. So to me, how can you start saying that it was the Akkadians when the Akkadians, in a sense, referred to the people as ki and gi, you know. So I think it's very important in a sense to, you have to sometimes, that's one of the reasons why you had to learn how to judge various articles and books and make sure that they really reflect an authentic or true history. But again, as I said earlier, you would have found these various people leaving Africa, settling Mesopotamia, going down the rivers and streams, and they would have been going down these rivers and streams in these boats. And these boats, in a sense, would have carried them from the Nile Valley to now the river, now the Red. But back in the day, there was many rivers that led into the Red Sea that people could have traveled upon. And these rivers would have connected with other rivers in Saudi Arabia and the Levant that led into Central Asia. You know, today, in a sense, we see a lot of kind of dry land, but back in the day, it would have been many more streams. And the reason that we know that there was many more streams that connected these areas is because of the fact, in the sense that they've used in a sense planes to fly over these places, and they've used lindar, which is a way, in the sense that they can find old canals, buildings, and things like that, structures under the sand or under trees. So again, we know that many of these areas were much more, in a sense, fertile back in the day, and it was also a lot of rivers and streams that the various Kushite people would have used to sail their boats up into Central Asia. It is strange for some observers that Oppard never criticized Rawlinson, who had proposed the Turanian origin of the ki and gi, Sumerians. But this was not strange at all. Oppard did not attack Rawlinson, who was still alive at the time, because he knew that Rawlinson said the Sumerians were the original Scythic and Turanian people he called Kushites. Moreover, Rawlinson made it clear that both the Akkadians and Sumerians were blacks. For Oppard to have debated this issue with Rawlinson, who deciphered the cuneiform script, would have meant that he would have had to accept the fact that the Semites were black. There was no way Oppard, who was a Jew, would have wanted to acknowledge his African heritage, given the anti-Semitism experienced by Jews living in Europe back in the day. So I mean, they already didn't like the Jews, and they didn't want, in a sense, to believe that a Semitic people in Akkad, in a sense, were, in a sense, black. But see, what you got to remember is that the Ashkenazi Jews, they have nothing to do. The Ashkenazi Jews have nothing to do with ancient Israel. The Ashkenazi Jews, they just, as a tribe, they decided, in a sense, that they didn't like the Christians, so they decided they was going to call themselves Jews, and then they began, in a sense, to represent Jews in Europe. But the Ashkenazi Jews, they have no relationship. They have no relationship with Palestine. They have no relationship with the original Semitic-speaking people in Mesopotamia, because these were black people, not Europeans like the Ashkenazi Jews. For example, Francois Lenormand made it clear, following the research of Rawlinson, that the Elamite and Sumerians spoke genetically related languages. Yes, genetically related languages. This idea was hard to reconcile with the depiction of people on the mountains of Iran, especially the Histun monuments, which depicted Negroes with curly hair and beards representing the Assyrians, Jews, and Elamites. Yes. In Chaldean magic, you know, when you look at these pictures, you can see that they were clearly Negroid. They were clearly black like you, black like me, black like us. You see, but the thing is, this is that they didn't want to acknowledge this, because, see, again, you know, this is during slavery, or slavery just ended. You know, the slaves, black people, were supposed to have been ignorant. No way they wanted, in a sense, people to know that the Sumerians, who they claim to be the first civilization in history, was ruled and dominated by black people. That did not fit in. That did not fit in the lie of white supremacy, you see. But if they would have, in a sense, pictured these people as black, they would have been telling the truth. Yes. The Sumerians were black people. They built those great temples. They built those great columns. They built those great monuments. Yes, it was black men, black women who created the Sumerian civilization. It wasn't white people. Lecouperie noted that the Assyrians, who called themselves Salmakakadi, the black-headed people, They just put blackhead, and it just meant black people. Salmakakadi, it just meant black people. But they, in a sense, wanted to say the black-headed people, so they could make you say, yeah, they had a black head, but that's because their hair was black. No, they were calling themselves black people, period, you see. But they wanted to say the black-headed people, so they could, in a sense, make people say, associate the blackheads with the black hair, and then that's why they were the black-headed people. And in reality, they were just black people like you, black people like me, black people like us. La Couperet was a well-known linguist and China expert. Although a native of France, most of his writings are in English. In the journal he published called the Babylonian Oriental Record, he outlined many aspects of ancient history. In these pages, he made it clear that the Sumerians, Akkadians, and even the Assyrians, who called themselves Salmakakadi, black-headed people, were all blacks of Kushite origin. Yes, yes. Albert Etienne Terrien de la Couperet, he wrote a lot of good stuff. He's one of our people who I really admire in terms of his ability to do research, because he was not only, in a sense, a good linguist, he also did a lot of good anthropology. The textual evidence also makes it clear that Oprah began a discussion of a typological relationship between Sumerian and Turkic languages. He also manufactured, in other words, he made up the idea that the Semites of Mesopotamia and Iran, the Assyrians and the Akkadians, were whites like himself. Yes, yes, yes. It was Oprah, it was this man who wanted to say that the Assyrians were white. Due to this brainwashing and whitening out of blacks in history, many people today can look at depictions of Assyrians, Achaemenid, Iranians, and Akkadians and fail to see the Negro origin of these people. Inside you can see an Assyrian king, you see? He doesn't look white in any way, and yet we've been taught in the schools, before the internet, before they started putting real pictures of the real Assyrians, we saw pictures where they always depicted the Assyrians as looking white. But this is how the real Assyrians look. This is the Assyrian king, King Esarhaddon. He reigned around 681 BC. This is Esarhaddon. This is an Assyrian. But he doesn't look white. Look at that nose. Look at those lips. Look at that hair, that braided beard. Look at the braids in the back of his hair. Yes, this is the brother like you, brother like me, a brother like us. Around 4,000 to 3,500 BC, the Sumerian people came. The Sumerians and Lamanites came to Mesopotamia by boats, first used in the eastern Sahara and on the Red Sea. These boats are analogous to Sumerian craft. This is why they often built their urban centers near rivers and streams. Yes, yes, yes. They in a sense migrated and they moved from these places in the Nile Valley. They moved into Mesopotamia and other places because it was much more highly watered. There was more streams, more rivers. And they sailed these rivers and streams. And then in a sense, they established these various centers of learning and also centers of trade. The Sumerians were in control of Mesopotamia for many years. Then around 2334 BC, a group of Puntite speakers called Akkadians under Namron Sin or Sargon of Agad took over Mesopotamia. The most famous king of Sumer was Gilgamesh. The first king to unify much of Sumer, though, was Mesilium, who took the title of king of Kish around 2500 BC. The second famous leader of Sumer was Gudea. Gudea is best known for his trade expeditions and unification of Sumer. He is also said to have obtained craftsmen from Susa and Elam for the decoration of the temples for his people. This is supposed to be a representation of Gudea. S.N. Kramer and the Sumerians told us that Dimun was an important source of lapis lazuli. This is a map of how, in a sense, S.N. Kramer, identified Macan or Magan was Egypt. You can see that along the Nile Valley. You can see on the coast of Africa, Meluha, which would have been Punt, and then you can see Sumer in Mesopotamia, and then Delmun in the Indus Valley. So these were considered to be main centers, in a sense, of trade during Sumerian times. The people of Sumer traded with Magan, which was Kemet, Meluha, which would have been Punt, and Delmun in the Indus Valley. The people in Indus Valley, they spoke the Tamil language. And in fact, those seals that you find that come from the Indus Valley, they're written in the Tamil language. I deciphered the Tamil language back in the late 1980s, 1990s. I published 10 or 12 articles on it. One day I'm going to really discuss some of the various Indus Valley seals. According to W.J. Perry in The Growth of Civilization, the myths, legends, and traditions of Sumerians pointed to Nubia as their ancestral home. Sir Henry Rawlinson, who deciphered the cuneiform writing, traced the Sumerian and Akkadians back to Nubia and Punt. So Rawlinson called the ancient Mesopotamians Kushites. It was the French Orientalist Julius Opat who named the Sumerians in an attempt to keep them separate from the Kushites, a black race of Africa. But Rawlinson in the Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society was correct in calling them Kushites. The term King of Kish was highly prized by subsequent kings of Sumer. This title allowed Sumerian kings to claim suzerainty over the whole country. So we see this conflict. So we see that Julius Opat, he had to in a sense try to call the Sumerians by a different name. You see, because he wanted to separate them from the Kushites because he was Jewish, and he wanted to make sure in a sense that if they were Semitic speakers like the Jews were Semitic speakers, then he wanted to make them white, you see. But as we know that he was an Ashkenazi Jew, so Ashkenazi Jews, they have nothing to do with the ancient world, but again, they wrote themselves in, you know. The Sumerian cities were led by an Ensi, who was a city governor. Matters concerning the cities of Sumer were decided on by free citizens who served in an assembly consisting of an upper house of elders and lower house of men. You see, here's the guy Dingir and another leading Gudir, before Enki or Anu. So you can see them. That's supposed to be Gudir, who I talked about earlier, one of the earliest kings, and he's supposed to be leading Gudir to meet the god Anu, which supposed to be the god of the upper world. Again, they made up this whole idea about Anunnaki. There's no such thing as Anunnaki. I did a presentation on that some time ago. I may do it again. But that Anunnaki never existed. The Sumerians did recognize a god Anu, but there wasn't no such thing as Anunnaki. They had a regular army with chariots and armored infantry. The Sumerians cherished goodness and truth, law and order and justice, just like the Akkadians. That's why the Akkadians had the Mad. As a result, the king had to be a man who could establish law and order and protect the poor from the rich. Very important to understand. Ron was surprised during his research to discover that these, in a sense, were black people, the Sagigar, But again, the original, in a sense, Mesopotamian, the original people of Sumer called themselves the Ki-Engi. In other words, they called Sumer the land of the true lords, you see. And as the Assyrians, they called themselves Salmet Kakadi, the black-headed people, the Ki-Engi people. They called themselves the Sagigar, the black people. Sumer was characterized by the emergence of city-states. Each functioned as an independent political entity. Prominent city-states include Uruk, Lagash, and Eridu. These city-states were often governed by a ruler known as a Lugal, or Ensi, who held both secular and religious authority. The political landscape was marked by frequent conflicts and alliances between these city-states, which competed for resources and territorial control. One of the most significant contributions of the Sumerians was the invention of writing. Around 3400 BCE, they developed cuneiform, one of the earliest writing systems, consisting of wedge-shaped symbols pressed into clay tablets. This innovation was initially used for record keeping, particularly in trade and administration, but it soon expanded to include literature, legal codes, and scientific texts. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known literary works, is a testament to the Sumerians' literary and cultural achievement. Here you can see an ancient Sumerian inscribing on a Sumerian text, making wedges and other symbols to signify, in a sense, the cuneiform writing that was the major script of many of the Sumerian people. They also used a Proto-Sumerian script, but we're not going to go there. The Sumerians were also remarkable architects and engineers. They constructed monumental structures such as ziggurats, which were massive terrace temples dedicated to their gods. The most famous ziggurat is the Great Ziggurat of Ur, built to honor the moon god Nana. These structures not only served religious purposes, but also demonstrated the Sumerians' advanced understanding of construction and urban planning. The economy of Sumer was predominantly agrarian, with a strong emphasis on irrigation. The Sumerians cultivated barley, wheat, dates, and flax, and they domesticated animals such as cattle, sheep, and goats. Trade was crucial for Sumerian prosperity as they exchanged surplus agricultural products for raw materials not available locally, such as timber, metals, and precious stones. They established trade networks that extended as far as the Indus Valley and Anatolia. Religion played a central role in Sumerian society. They practiced polytheism, worshiping a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each associated with natural forces and aspects of life. Major deities include Anu, the sky god, Enlil, the god of air and storms, and Inanna, the goddess of love and war. Religious practices involve rituals, offerings, and the construction of elaborate temples. Sumerian mythology, rich with tales of gods, heroes, and cosmic events, deeply influenced later Mesopotamian cultures. The decline of the Sumerian civilization began around 2000 BCE due to a combination of factors including environmental changes, internal strife, and invasions by neighboring peoples such as the Akkadians, who eventually conquered and assimilated Sumerian culture. Despite their decline, the legacy of the Sumerians endured. Their innovations in writing, governance, architecture, and law profoundly shaped subsequent civilizations in Mesopotamia and beyond. It's just other people came and they conquered them. Eurocentrics lie about the history of Sumer. They put Gutians in history books and history textbooks and pretend these white people were Sumerians. Yes, the Gutians were not Sumerians. Okay, look at this picture. On the left-hand side, you can see a Gutian, and on the right-hand side, you can see a Sumerian. As you can see, the Sumerian, in a sense, had, Africoid or Negroid features, where, in a sense, the Gutians had, in a sense, European features, and they also had empty eyes. So on the left-hand side, you can see the Gutian. On the right-hand side, you can see the Sumerians. You see? Frequently is able to fool people by only publishing pictures of Gutians from the gash and calling them Sumerians. Eurocentric academics love to lie about Black history. Yes, they love to lie about Black history. They pretend the Gutians are Sumerians. Like on this picture, you can see this picture on this book, in this book called The Sumerians. And they say, these were Sumerians. No, these were not Sumerians, you see. These were Gutians. Gutians ruled at Lagash. But they print all these pictures of these Gutians, and then they make it appear that these Gutians were the Sumerians. The Sumerians look nothing like the Gutians. The Sumerians look like Black people, look like you, look like me. The Gutians, also Gutians or Guti, were a tribe that overran southern Mesopotamia when Akkadian Empire collapsed in approximately 2183 BC. Sumerian sources portray the Gutians as a barbarous, ravenous people from Gutium or Kutium in the mountains, presumably the central Zagros. The Sumerians' king list represents them as ruling over Sumer for a time and painted a picture of chaos within the Gutian administration, long gone by the time forces could arrive to deal with the situation. Their raids crippled the economy of Sumer. These are Gutians. Look at these. These are not Sumerians, they're Gutians. Look at their bald heads, look at their beards. And they also had a particular handshake. And it's the handshake that the Gutians had that is different in a sense from the Sumerians. One of the things about white folk is that white folk, they always make a lot of art, and when they take over a civilization, they make so much art that they make so much art, and they either destroy or they hide the original art, that it'll make you think that these people always ruled a particular area when they didn't always rule these particular areas, you know. And see, according to the historian Henry Hoyle Haworth, 1901, and Assyriologist Theophilus Pinchas, 1908, renowned archaeologist Leonard Woolley, 1929, and Assyriologist Ignaz Gilp, in 1944, the Gutians were pale-skinned and blonde-haired. Yes, the Gutians were pale-skinned and blonde-haired. This identification of the Gutians as fair-haired first came to light when Julius Opart, 1877, published a set of tablets he had discovered which described Gutian and Sabarian slaves as Namrum, or Namrutum, meaning light-colored or fair-skinned. Yes. So, of course, we like to claim in a sense that there was no racism in ancient times, but you can clearly see that the Akkadians definitely identified the Gutians as being different from them, whereas they called themselves the Gagiga, the black-headed people. They called them the Namrutum, meaning light-colored or fair-skinned. It's very important to understand that there's a difference between the handshake of, in a sense, the Gutians and the handshake of the Sumerians. Let's look at the Gutian handshake. The Gutian handshake, you see the hand clasps, the fingers are over the fist. Do you see that? Look over there to the far left-hand side. Look at the fingers. The fingers are over the fist. Okay, now let's look at the Sumerians. The Sumerians, the hand claps, the fingers are under the fist. Do you see that difference? The Gutians, the fingers are over the fist, whereas the Sumerians, the fingers are under the fist. That's one of the interesting things, is that you see this difference between the Gutian handshake and the Sumerian handshake. Gutian Sumerian handshakes, look at the difference. Gutian, fingers over the hand, fingers over the fist. Sumerian, fingers under the fist. In conclusion, the Sumer civilization stands as a cornerstone of human history, marking the transition from prehistoric societies to advanced urban centers. Their contributions to writing, architecture, and governance set the stage for future civilizations. Understanding the Sumerians' achievements and their enduring legacy provide valuable insight into the development of human civilization. Yes. You see, here's some of the references. If you want to read further about their Kushite origin, just stop the video, and you can copy down these references, or join my Patreon, and you'll see the slides in my Patreon, and you can take your livey time, or you can even download the slide with the references. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, let the researcher do the research. Don't forget, if you want to learn how to do good research, get my book, Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentrism, a memoir. This book tells you how I became an Afrocentric researcher. It can give you some keys and gives you ideas on how you too can become a researcher. So get my memoir. Also, my book, Afrocentric Researcher, a guide to study social science research methods. In this book, I You'll learn quantitative and qualitative research methods. You see, so you can be the researcher. Yes, let the researcher do the researcher. Get these books, Pathfinder and Afrocentric Researcher. They can help you to become a researcher like me. If you want to learn more about Kushite history, get my books, The Kushites, Who, What, When, and Where. Now Valley History and the Rig Veda. And using Common Core site to teach Kushite history. You can order these books at Amazon.com. Okay. Jaylen Prasad, one of our beautiful supporters. She's all every week. Every week, Jaylen is in the chat. She's always, pushing B1, and she just published a book. Yes, she published a book. It's called, the past is never past. You see, this book by Jaylen Prasad, it's about poetry. A young 15-year-old girl is kicking off her sophomore year of high school in a whole new world. Her grandmother has cancer, and the only family she has is her only granddaughter, Poetry, and her son-in-law. Poetry and her father moved from Philadelphia to California to take care of her grandmother. Once Poetry enters her new school, she runs into a familiar face that she thought she'd seen before. How long will it take for Poetry to remember that her past is always there and it will never leave, but only makes her stronger? Yes, yes, yes. Get this book by Jaylen Prasad. The past is never the past. This book was written by one of our frequent, chat members. Support the sister, support her in her efforts. This beautiful cover was made by the genius. Yes, yes. It was made by the genius Yoshimad. B1, black first. B1, brilliant first. We are black and brilliant. Yes, we are a black and a brilliant people. Because we are black and brilliant, we have to remember who we are. Because it's through understanding who you are that you can find peace. How you doing now, Sister Shanice? What up, though? Sister Shanice, how you doing? Demetria Shepherd, V Mac, Brave Corewater, Just Eve. What up, though? Lord Taharka. Black Scrap. Yes, this is important. Yoshimad is a wonderful creator. And Yoshimad, in a sense, what he's done is that he's allowed us to be able to make a lot of beautiful things. And I think that you should try to do whatever you can if you want something done. If you want a web page, if you want a brochure, a handout, anything, a video, let Yoshimad produce it for you. Support Yoshimad. Yoshimad is a genius. This man will make whatever you want. He'll make it super. He'll make it very important. And also, we got to remember that we have to, in a sense, we have to homeschool our children, develop a homeschool program for the children. Today is today. We need to homeschool our children due to white supremacy. In many states, education departments are passing laws to deny our children from learning the history of foundational Black Americans. Today, you can learn how to organize and teach your children in a homeschool in my book, A Guide to Homeschool Foundational Black Americans. You can use my book, History of Blacks in America from Prehistory to 1877, to teach our children their history here in the United States. You can use my book to teach world history. And this book I've written is called The World History of the Black World. This will teach your children about every Black civilization in the world. Get this book. The time is now. Get these books to teach your children about their greatness, to prevent them from losing confidence in their own ability to learn and be successful future adults in employment and education.
So dreamy.
Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America.
So dreamy.
Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America. Yes, I've written a new book. This book is called History and Culture of Afro-Americans. It's about the Aboriginal Americans. It's about the first people who inhabited America. Many people don't know about our great culture, this super culture that we created, but I discussed this book. In 489 pages, you'll find out so much information, great information, about, in a sense, what the Aboriginal foundational Black Americans did. You're going to see, in a sense, that Black people contributed much here. When the first Europeans got here, that's what they found. Yes, they found Black Aboriginals inhabiting the Americas. It was the Black Aboriginals that built this country. This is why you had to get my book. Get my book, History and Culture of the Aboriginal Blacks of the Americas. In this book, you will find out the truth. You will know what we created. You will know who we are. Get this book. Buy it now. Here's a question. It says, Brave Course said, peace, Doc. Which modern Black African ethnic groups today would you say directly descend from the Sumerians? Well, the people who would probably directly descend from Sumerians, they would be the Manding speaking people, the Dogon, because the Manding speaking people, the Dogon, the Sumerians, the Chemedians, they all worship Amma. And because they all worship Amma, they would be a good representation. The Dogon are very interesting because the Dogon, even though they're not Mandi or Mandingo speakers, they still carry some of the ancient traditions that the people in the civilization of Ma supported. We have a few more minutes. If people have a few questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll try to answer them. But again, the Sumerians are very, very important, very important. And I think it's very important in a sense to understand that FBA went through an ethnogenesis, and Yoshimad, in a sense, he's made some videos that I think discuss this ethnogenesis. Not just in the sense this video that he made that's called Any Given Time. I think that a lot of his videos are just so important, I think. But this is videos that I really love, so I'll play it one more time.
follow. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. What's the that you don't want me to say? Ain't been big on my listen to me. Sometimes I feel like the lake that I made. On my grandmother with it to me. Left me behind it and left me astray. What is the truth that was going on with me? Told me be cool and just have a nice day. Some things are just easy to say. Wish you could stop me from breathing a day. Don't have no food and they swimming on me. Out in the ocean away from the bay. I've been drifting along far away. I went up in to keep them away. See what you see, but I just cannot stay. Force me to lane and they want me to drain. Can't do the crown, that don't suit me. Wine unfortunately, drinking my sorrow. So many follow, sleeping in hollow. Bring on the idol, listen to Carlo. Nothing to borrow, living to borrow. Nothing to call home, shooting a hollow. Shooting a inferno, how about the carnal? Summon all your love in the eye. They all know, seeing that is a pyramid. Hey, they some again, that is affirmative. I look them as a bitch, got the hook to the ring. She let the color quiz, that's what the mission is. We are the guinea pigs, music for feeling it. Tired of the silliness, no longer feeling it. Killing what killing is, feeling like feeling it. Swimming this message off of the shore into the abyss. Deep in, I'm in ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. Works of a genie, what a fiend, take you to Feeny. How would they see me? Sleazy bikinis, nothing but weenies. Wearing a beanie, feeling bikini. Change up the scenery, changing the scenery. Some of your misery, so many lies of me. Probably got you on TV, believe me. Pulling your memories, killing the name. They never just admit that they got me. Machiavelli could have never been sloppy. We can see it's nothing but copies. Let Sam cook up in that lobby. Billie Holiday just was a body. George Clinton committed them robberies. It seems he went for the lottery. This all falls in one category. We all call it a mystery. I'm the villain you all see. They glory to those who all see. Put the grass set up like Eddie Murphy. No car crash, they just hating on me. Gotta make a comeback like Bill Cosby. Kobe Bryant playing conspiracy. Get me back for taking a knee. But they just be canning me. Like in my turban, hit when I'm swerving. Black house cursing, sipping up a curving. More laceration, installation, no motivation. Straight elimination, your innovation, alienation, annihilation. All for the taking, taking like taking. Omen faking, us personation. Who you saving? Change like Raven, Sammy Davis. Had to shake 'em, moving brave on how you craving. Even Jada save 'em, Taylor paving. Who we faking? Harry make 'em misbehaving. We the brave before we drown in the water. Got a deep dive. I'm in the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm on the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. Think they don't want me to stay. There's always one who justify rain. Came from the cave, made from the bay, created the slave. Step out of water, fiction is harder. Why do they bother? Go with my head, curse like a daughter. Same boat, same fate, only in slaughter. Still throw jet bro, same as a father. Justify life, why should it be harder? All my nation, make things water. See how they come, all in one. Force me to gun, force me to the slum. Live off the crumb, father's hung. Best is beyond, live as one. Betraying the nuns, speak for the young. Nobody's dumb, maybe just someone they young. Maverick approach, roof by Yojo. And the kind of grow, just as the Oko came off the old farm. E-I-E-I-O-E-O song. Training the wheel until it's all gone. Gotta go deeper, dive with the people. Some turn lethal, neighbors is evil. Go for the right, give up the fight. No human right, kill them on sight. Many to spare, many beware. I see that I'm there, I see that I'm here. Ready with flares, calling all bad. Our genders are here, we the illusion, not disappear. As hard as my chin, deep dive. I'm an illusion and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. intentions have chose me. This happens often. Ooh, the scale is now tipping. We must prepare for them. The world is dangerous. It's all show. Rain falls down. Most people don't know. Tables turn. All our enemies burn. Ashes, ashes, dust to dust. Oh, know how to get you. Wake your whole ass up. We battled before. We're still in this war. My patience is over and gone. You protect yours, and I'll protect mine. You protect yours, and I'll protect mine. You and I are on the front line. Don't let them lie to you. We've been here this whole time. I'm telling you. And I've been on this front line. Don't let them lie to you. We've been here this whole time.
This is another video by the genius Yoshimad. This man, in a sense, I love his work. I love what he does. This man, in a sense, he's taken our history, he's taken our culture, he's taken our society, and he's made it, in a sense, so that it's understandable. Yes, yes. By him dealing with the word art, by him dealing, in a sense, with these themes, it makes it so that you can really understand where we're coming from. You can understand, in a sense, what makes us who and what we are, what gives us, in a sense, that uniqueness, what allows us to find and to be able, in a sense, to try to, in a sense, make our world much more grounded, and I think that we really need, in a sense, to sometimes.
I stood by the ocean. I laid by the shore. The sun embraced me. My skin is pure. True melanated. I'm activating nature. I am one with her. I'm activating nature. I am one with her. I'm activating nature. I am one with her. I'm activating nature. My feet are on the ground. My toes is in the moon. My head is to the sky. My feet are on the ground. Yeah, fundamentals when we ask about your assets. Ask this, ask questions, be the best, take the rest what the sun get. Sunburn, sun rich, that's a sun kiss. Yeah. Please tell me about your motive. Melanated skin tone and the glowing. Isn't that enough to keep the ball rolling? Spoke up too soon, why you kill the chosen? Melanated. My skin is pure. My skin is activated. I reach the
Yoshima, as I told you, Yoshima the genius. Go to his YouTube page, support this brother. He's able to do this work. He's able to do this work because of the fact, in a sense, that the people in his Patreon, they support him. Support Yoshima the genius. This man is making real what we need to see. See, he's taking our thoughts and he's giving our thoughts in the sense not only vivid images that inspire you, that allow you to really understand who and what you are, but it also in a sense shows the deepness of our culture. Joan asked a question. She said, Baba, is tribe a white Euro concept? Seems like we thought in terms of confederacies, like the Amasi Confederacy, made of several distinct groups. Tribe, in a sense, is a European concept, but a better identification is that Aboriginal Black people, African people, they refer to themselves as nations, even though they may have, in a sense, been a small group. They, in a sense, refer to themselves as a nation, the Yamasee Nation, the Cherokee Nation, the Creek Nation. But often, in a sense, to try to create unity, they would form confederations. In other words, several Black Aboriginal nations would come together and they would join a confederacy like the Iroquois Confederacy, the Muskogean Confederacy. Originally, the Iroquois, Muskogean Confederacy, they were made up, in a sense, of Black Aboriginal groups. But over time, in a sense, when history records these people, they ignore the fact that they were Black, and they, in a sense, depict them as red-skinned Indians, in a sense. So much of the Aboriginal history has been hidden, and one of the reasons it's been hidden is that they began, in a sense, they began to call. See, a lot of times when you're reading Black history, I remember back in the day, when I was at university, when I first started teaching Afro American history, and I used to see all these people, and they say colored people, the free colored people. I thought the free colored people were free slaves, but they wasn't freeing any slaves hardly. The free colored people, that was the name in a sense that they gave to Black Indian groups. They called the Black Indian nations. They would call them free colored people. That's where the colored people term came from. It didn't come from freed chattel slaves. It came from the identification by Europeans of the Black Aboriginal groups. They called them, in a sense, colored people, whereas they in a sense tried to refer to the red man, in a sense, as a different group. Because see, the Europeans, as early as Benjamin Franklin, I've talked about this before. How you doing, Brad Murray? I've talked about this before, but they wanted, in a sense, to make, in a sense, the Red Indians some tethers. They wanted to put the Red Indians between the Black Aboriginals and, in a sense, the Sub-Saharan Africans, to have them as a tether group in between, so that they could, in a sense, use them as lightning or use them as competition. And this was especially true as many of the Red Indians began to marry Europeans. As these Red Indians married Europeans, then these Red Indians, in a sense, their sons and daughters, began to want to emulate their Caucasian, parents. That's why, in a sense, many of the so-called five civilized tribes, that the Red Indians, who were members of the five civilized tribes, once they began to marry Europeans, they began, in a sense, to develop, in a sense, slavery. They began, in a sense, by Africans and keep them as slaves to work on plantations. But that's those are one of the concepts. But it's very important to understand is that even though, as I said, this sister, she was just crying, I'm not Black, I'm not Black, I'm not Black, I'm Aboriginal. But see, that's the whole point. The only way that I could do the research, to really find out the history and culture of the Black Aboriginals is because they were called Black. They were described as Black by the explorers. The explorers, in a sense, they called them Black. That's how we know that the Aboriginals were black Indians. They described them as having Negro features. You got to get my book. This is the only book that you're going to find that discuss the history and culture of the black Aboriginals of the Americas. Yes, this book, in a sense, it breaks down it's the only book that breaks down our history. It shows, in a sense, how the first chattel slaves, the first slaves were, in a sense, Aboriginal black Indians, and that they were later joined by, in a sense, the black Irish beginning in 1630. And so between 1630 and 1660, the only chattel slaves that Caucasians had on the plantations to grow rice and sugar and tobacco were black Aboriginals and black Irish. Then in 1660, they began, in a sense, to import sub-Saharan Africans and make them slaves. You got to get my book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of the Americas. It is the only book that tells you how black people inhabited North America for 130,000 years. This book not only mentions the names of these Aboriginal tribes, but also outlines the culture and history of these Aboriginal foundational Black Americans and their genetic background. In addition, the reader will discover the technology the Aboriginal people created in North America, which indicates their unique technological achievements that match the civilizations of Mesoamerica and Mexico. A lot of these brothers, when they talk about the black Aboriginals, they always go and talk about the pyramids made down in Mexico by the Maya and the Aztecs and all that type of mess. In this book, I explained that we also build pyramids here. Yes, we built stone pyramids here. The only reason that we don't know about these stone pyramids today is they tore them down to build the various railroads. How do you think they built those railroads? Leading from the north to the south through the Midwest. They went to those mounds, tore the mounds down, tore up, in a sense, the stone pyramids, and they used that stone and they used that dirt and they used the wood that was in some of the construction to build the railroads. That's how they built the railroads and stuff. JP says, love that book. It's so important. Thank you, JP. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I think that anyone who wants to know the real history of our foundational Black Americans have to get that book. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming and sharing your time with me. And so we could kind of look at, kind of think about things. Again, as I said, support Yoshimod. And I think that what I think I want to do is that I'm going to play Yoshimod's video before we end, Yoshimod's video again before we end this.
I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. What's it that you don't want me to say? I've been big on my listen to me. Sometimes I feel like the living I made. On my grandmother was in the maid. Left me behind and left me astray. What is the truth that was going on with me? Told me be cool and just have a nice day. Some things are just easy to say. Wish it could stop me from breathing today. Don't have no food and they swimming on me. Out in the ocean away from the bay. I've been drifting along far away. I went up in to keep them away. See what you see, but I just cannot stay. Force me to land and they want me to drink. Can't do the crime, they don't suit me. Mine, unfortunately, drink out my sorrow. So many follow, sleeping in hollow. Bring on the idol, listen to Carlo. Living to borrow, living to borrow. Living to call home, shooting a hollow. Shooting a inferno, about the carnal. Zooming out your lungs in the eye. Y'all know I'm seeing my pyramid. I hear they tell me get that is affirmative. I look at me to be keep the hook to the ring. Too late to call it quits, that's what the mission is. We are that guinea pig, music for feeling it. Tired of the ceiling it, no longer feeling it. Feeling we're killing it, feeling like feeling it. Swimming this message off of the shore into the abyss. Deep in, I'm in ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. Works of a genie, what a fiend. Take you to Feeny. How when they see me, sleazy bikinis, nothing but weenies. Wearing a beanie, feeling bikini. Changing the scenery, Showing your misery, so many lies on me. Probably got you on TV, believe me. Pulling your memories, killing the name. They never just admit that they got me. Machiavelli could have never been sloppy. We can see it's nothing but copies. Let Sam cook up in that lobby. Billie Holiday just was a body. George Clinton committed them robberies. It seems he went for the lottery. This all falls in one category. We all call it a mystery. I'm the villain you all see. Like glory to those who all see. Pendergrass set up like Eddie Murphy. No car crash, they just hating on me. Gotta make it come back like Bill Cosby. We Brian playing conspiracy. Get me back for taking a knee. They just be kidding me. Like on a turban, hit when I'm swerving. Black house cursing, sipping over curving. More laceration, installation, no motivation. Straight elimination, your innovation, alienation, annihilation. All for the taking, taking like taking. Open faking, us personation. Moving Sega, change like Raven. Save me, David. Had to shake them, moving brave on. How you craving? Even Jaden save them. Taylor paving, who we faking? Harry make them misbehaving. We the brave before we drown in the water. Got a deep dive. I'm in the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. There's always one who just got rain. Came from the cave, came from the bay, created the slave. Step out of water, fiction is harder. Why do they bother? Over my head, first like a daughter. Same boat, same fate, only a slaughter. Still throw jet bro, same as a father. Justify life, why should it be harder? Abomination, make things water. See how they come, all as one. Force me to gun, force me to the slum. Live up the crumb, father's hung. This is beyond, live as one. Betraying the nuns, speak for the young. Nobody's dumb, maybe just some of the young. Maverick approach, truth by Yojo. And the kind will grow, just as the Oko came off the old farm. E-I-E-I-O-E-L song. Training the wheel until it's all gone. Gotta go deeper, dive with the people. Some turn lethal, neighbors is evil. Go for the right, give up the fight. No human right, kill them on sight. Many to spare, many beware. I see that I'm there, I see that I'm here. Ready with flash, calling all bad. Our genetics are here, we the illusion, not disappear. As hard as my chin, deep dive. I'm an illusion and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be followed. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die.
That was another video by Yoshimod the Genius. Please support Yoshimod. Go to his webpage, subscribe. He's on YouTube, subscribe. Buy some of his music. He's got it on Spotify. This is inspiring music. Get the music written by the genius. I want to thank everybody for joining me this evening. Later, I'm supposed to be with Dr. Short. I'm going to try to show up. So you guys may want to catch that later. But right now, thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you for spending time with me. And remember to be B1. Remember, it's black first. And it's only by being black that we can get things done. Black first is being brilliant. We're brilliant and black.
If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. Vampires, they prey on your fears, telling them stay away. Vampires, they prey on your fears, control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. What I say. Don't let them take control your atmosphere. I am you. Control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them suck your energy. Ooh.